I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, part 2 on the blog I did a month ago on the Liberals want the equity in your principal residence, and that tax on your principal residence is coming. It's not a matter, guys, I'm going to give you guys a more detailed video on it here. In my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people I've talked to, everything from builders, money managers, economists, realtors, mortgage brokers, it's pretty much unanimous. Probably 90% of the people that I've talked to in the industry here have said that it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when they're going to tax your principal residence. And if you go to the blog I posted about a month ago, if you guys look on the left side there for recommended videos, I noticed this after I posted my video, there's probably 15 or 20 YouTube videos talking about the exact same thing I am. And if you dig a little deeper and Google it, you're going to find a whole bunch of economists, bankers, have all been bandying this around. The Liberal government has been looking into this for well over 5 years. Trudeau has made multiple trips here, as I said, out to UBC to talk to this professor about how we can implement this tax. So let me go through it in a little more detail, because the more I think about this, and I've had some long conversations with some people, it's almost the perfect tax, as I'm going to tell you guys. It's really quite something here how they're going to put this over on us. And again, this tax isn't coming this year in 2025, might not happen in 2026, but 2027, 2028, we'll see. The amount of pushback I got on that blog, they're acting like I'm the one that was going to implement this tax. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. Do a little bit of homework, as I said in my comment section there. Spend 15 minutes on this. And I think you'll come away with it that this is probably happening eventually. Might be 5 years from now. I threw out, which I'm seeing online by a lot of people, that rolling tax of 1%, the difference between the purchase price and what the home is assessed at every year for tax assessment. They would tax it maybe at 1%. So if you've got $1 million of capital gain in your home, capital gain, and you're taxed on it at 1%, it would be $10,000 annual tax. Could be something a little less than that, could be something a little bit more. There's lots of ideas that have been bandied about, you can read about online or do a little research, Google it. But I had a lot of people, let me just break it down here, because the more I think about this over the last month or so, the more I think that, yeah, this is going to happen. It's really the perfect tax, as I'm going to tell you guys in a minute. And it's going to be no problem putting this through. A lot of people said, oh, and you're nuts. It would be political suicide to put something like this through. Nobody would go for it. Well, it's not going to be political suicide. Let me tell you why. First off, over 55% of Canadians now, maybe pushing 60%, are renters. They are not homeowners. We have more renters in this country than we do homeowners. And that renter to homeowner ratio is going wider. More renters every year, fewer owners. This is socialism, guys, that I've talked about, where we've been under socialist rule here provincially, federally, for a decade now. And that's the whole thing. Get you out of owning anything and get you into renting. So every year the ratio of renters versus owners widens. In another 10 years, we'd be lucky to have 35% homeowners versus renters. In another 25 years, I bet maybe 20 to 25% of Canadians will own their own home. The majority will be renters, but they already are the majority now. So when you put down let's call it, like I said, a 1% rolling tax, we're going to call it a fairness tax. Remember that. Fairness tax. Hey, you're a fat cat homeowner. You've got millions of dollars in your home. You can afford to pay $10,000, $15,000 or whatever to help young Canadians get into home ownership. So that's the way they're going to put this over. So right away, any renter is going to love this idea. The second thing is, most Canadians across the country, this is really targeted towards Toronto and Vancouver homeowners that have owned their home for 15, 20, 30, 40 years. They're the ones that are holding the real bulk of large capital gains. The average guy, if he bought a condo here 5 years ago in downtown Vancouver, has little to no capital gain in that home. Or if he bought a condo 10 years ago in Yaletown, maybe he's got $100,000. So in other words, that's going to cost him $1,000 a month in a tax. So hardly going to break the bank or make him, stay awake at night, can't sleep. So think about this, guys. Break it down here. Most Canadians are renters. A guy living in Saskatoon or Regina or Brandon, Manitoba or Winnipeg or Sault Ste. Marie, they don't have the housing prices we have here in Vancouver. They might have owned a home 15 years ago and they've got $100,000 of capital gain in it. It's the wealthy Vancouver and Toronto homeowners, guys like me up until 7 years ago, which I'll get to in a minute, that have got $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. We are a rare breed. So it's roughly going to make up 15% of Canadians, maybe 20% at max, that have any substantial amount of capital gain in there that'll be affected by this tax. So putting it over on taxpayers, think about it. 80% are going to love this idea. Tax those fat cat homeowners. Now for me, I think I've told you guys, I lived in a large detached home out in Richmond. I loved the house, owned it and lived in it for 15 years. It was great. Lots of bedrooms, office space, big garage, all that good stuff. But about 7 years ago, I decided I wanted to be in the downtown core because more and more of my business was downtown. I wanted to be able to walk to things. And I didn't need 3,300 square feet. So I sold my detached home and, I ended up selling it using the principal resident exemption for well into 7 figures of capital gain. So I reset the clock on my new place here. I'm in downtown now. I own a nice condo downtown. I've got a couple $100,000, maybe $300,000 of capital gain in it now since I bought it. So again, I'm not going to lose sleep over a 1% rolling tax. It's going to be $2,000, $3,000 a year. I don't want to pay it any more than you guys do. But it's not going to keep me up at night. So think about it. That's how these guys will put this over. It's a fairness tax. It's only 10, 15, 20% maybe real fat cat Canadians that live in Toronto and Vancouver that have the massive capital gains that they'll hit you with. So the other ways this is going to be a perfect tax, it's going to be a fairness tax. So if you are vocal about not wanting to pay that, have fun with that. I'm certainly not going to do it. I'm going to pay the thing, because you will be scorned to death there. It's a fairness tax. You're sitting on $2 million of capital gain in your home and you can't afford to chip in $15,000 or $20,000 a year to help young people buy homes. Now, we all know that tax revenue from this is not going to go into building homes. It's going to go into the general coffers of the government and then waste it away in Margaritaville like they do with all our other tax money. Guys, think about this. We are broke here in Canada. We have been running massive, massive deficits since Justin Trudeau came into office. He inherited a very good balance sheet 10 years ago. But every year he ran a substantial deficit. So being broke is you don't have enough money to pay for your expenses. We're way beyond that, guys. We are borrowing money to keep our standard of living up. Look this up. Our interest payments alone on our deficit is more than what we spend on healthcare for the entire country. Just the interest payments on our deficit. So think about this. This is why Trudeau was so smug over the last 5 years when people were saying you're running these billion-dollar deficits. Where is the money going to come from? He would just blow it off. Oh, don't worry. We'll get the books balanced. I'm going to have a balanced budget in the next year, next 2 years, which he never delivered. He just laughed it off. So where's the money going to come from? So we can't increase taxes anymore because we're already the highest tax country pretty much in the free world. We are taxed to death here. I pay 50% of what I earn to Revenue Canada every year. So we can't tax anymore. We've stretched that elastic as far as it'll go. We have to cut costs, budget. We have to cut spending. We're not going to do it, guys. We can't face the medicine here. We can't take the pain for the long-term gain. That's why the Conservatives lost. They wanted to drastically cut spending, cut that $1.5 billion we're wasting on CBC and all the other grants and wasted money we spend on things. We can't take it. We don't vote for that kind of stuff. We don't want to see these government services cut in really any way or shape or form. Even if we cut it by 20%, our spending, it's not going to put a dent in this deficit. It still wouldn't cover our interest payments. So we can't face the medicine. So what is left? This is why Trudeau was so smug. What is left is the trillions, T with a T, Trillions of dollars that's sitting in Canadians' homes in the form of capital gain. That's the last area we can tax, and it's the only area where we can get a substantial amount of revenue to start paying down this deficit, or at least covering some of the interest payments. We're in a real mess here, guys. So it's going to happen. The other thing this 1% rolling tax would do, which is why I say this is the perfect tax, it's going to stimulate housing sales, or the churn, as us realtors call it. So already the Liberals have been complaining for a decade now that aging Canadians are staying in their large homes longer and longer and longer. I know, because I've got homes that I sell every year from people that are in their 80s that finally get around to selling a large family home with maybe 1 or 2 occupants. But I don't blame them. Who wants to move? They're comfortable in that home. This tax would start giving them that little shove. You know, hey, we're going to hit you with that 1% rolling tax. It'll definitely stimulate home sales, which is great for me. To get them out of those homes, to free up more homes for younger Canadians to move up market. Let's look at some other things. David Eby here locally, we're broke in this province as well. You don't think that David Eby is licking his chops on getting more churn? Because every house that's sold and another one is bought, there's more PTT revenue, property transfer tax, which is the biggest tax grab known to man. I've done lots of blogs on it. Never been indexed in 35 years for the current housing prices. 1% on the first 200, 2% on the balance, then it goes all the way up to 5% depending on the value of the home. So that is another hundreds of millions of dollars in property transfer tax that the provinces will get by getting older Canadians out of the homes because of that 1% rolling tax. Think this stuff through, guys. As they say when you join Toastmasters, read the room when you're doing public speaking. All you've got to do is read the room here on all the things that a tax like this is going to do. You say, hey, I don't want to move out of my house. I don't want to pay that 1% tax, even though you're sitting on a $3 million capital gain, but I don't want to pay the tax. No problem. The federal government will be happy to allow you to defer that tax, just like they do with the property taxes. They'll put a lien on your house, a charge on title, but you can then pay that tax when you finally do sell the house. So we're not going to kick anybody out of their homes here. We're not that bad. We'll allow you to defer the tax. Now, the other thing that I would tell people, what I said in my video blog last month, I said, I'm not selling my home. I took advantage of the full capital gains exemption when I sold my last house, so I've kind of reset the clock, but I'd still have $200,000 or $300,000 in equity, or in capital gain. But I'm not selling my place. I'm happy, and if the tax hits, I'll pay the damn thing. And I wouldn't advise anyone who's happy in their house, who just bought a house, is there, stay, don't sell. It doesn't make any sense to sell a property to try and get in front of a tax. It doesn't. But what would happen, what I did say in that blog is I said, if you were planning on selling, in other words, we were thinking of selling regardless of this tax in the next year or two, you may want to push that forward a little bit. Not so much to save that rolling tax, because it's going to be peanuts. You know, if it's $1 million, sure, you pay $10,000. But what it is, it will create a bit of a race to the exits, because remember, guys, this tax will come with very little warning. It'll be like the capital gains tax they increase. They just spring it on you and give you 6 weeks. So there will be a bit of a rush to the exits there once that tax does come into place. And of course, this is all part of the master plan. It will boost up inventory dramatically. You'll go from 5 homes listed in your neighborhood to 15, which of course will bring down the prices. More inventory, prices come down, buyers have a lot more choice, lowball season begins. So that would be the only situation. If you're thinking of selling anyways, you may want to do it a little sooner than later to beat that rush to the exits. Because that's what will happen when they announce this tax. All the people that were thinking of selling soon enough anyways would sell. But, you know, again, if you break down the numbers here, I did on a piece of paper here. Let's say you've got $1 million of, and this is why, again, it's the perfect tax. Because they get you, every single way you look at, they're going to get you with this damn thing. Let's say you've got $1 million of capital gain in your property, and you think this tax is coming down the line, or they introduce the tax. And for that calendar year, you're going to have to pay $10,000. But you say, I don't want to continue paying this year after year after year, so I'm going to sell the home. Okay, you're going to sell the home. Well, you're going to have real estate commissions to sell this $2 million home with $1 million of capital gain. So that's going to cost you $55,000, $60,000. You're going to have a set of conveyance fees. You're going to have to live somewhere else. So let's say you want to buy something similar, or maybe a little bit smaller for 1.5 million, or maybe even just a condo for $1 million. Okay, well, you're going to have a brand new set of property transfer tax of another $20,000 or $25,000, depending on what you buy, and another set of conveyancing fees, and perhaps 5% GST if you buy something new. So just to keep it simple, that friction cost might be $100,000 to sell, buy something else, and reset the clock on your principal resident exemption. $100,000. Well, you could stay where you were for 10 years at $10,000 a year and come out the same way. So I thought this through, guys. You should do the same before you comment here saying I'm crazy on this. It is perfect in every single way. It's a fairness tax. We're not asking for much. It's only really targeting fat cat Vancouverites and Torontonians who have a lot of capital gain. Most Canadians do not have that, or they have very little, or they're renters. 55% are renters. So they are going to have no problem putting this through, guys. And even some of the guys that are sitting on $3 and $4 million, I know some of them. I have some of them in my queue for selling. They'll pay it. I mean, they've done well. They'll figure, hey, I don't mind helping out. $10,000, $15,000 a year for the next 2 or 3 years before I sell isn't going to break me. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It's going to be coming, guys. I don't want to pay it any more than you guys do. But, if you look at it from all those different angles, it really is the perfect tax. You can't front run it. You can't get out of it because of the friction costs. It only affects the real fat cats, 15 to 20% of Canadians. So the other 80% will have no problem with this. All the renters are going to think this is the best thing since sliced bread. Definitely. Matter of fact, it shouldn't be 1%. It should be 5% is what they're going to say. And we are broke. We have no way out on this. We're running up massive deficits. Our interest payments alone we can barely pay. What is left? We can't tax you anymore because they've taxed us to the hilt. We can't cut government spending in any meaningful way because that is political suicide. We just saw it. This is one of the reasons why the Liberals won. The Conservatives wanted to cut everything. Canadians just aren't ready for it yet. So don't shoot the messenger here, guys. It's not coming this year, probably not in 2026, but over the next 5 years, it's probably, everyone I talk to, we're pretty much unanimous. It's going to happen. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's only half of 1%. Maybe they'll start it at a quarter of 1%. Start it mild and then gradually ratchet it up. Maybe it'll be just an exit tax where, when you sell the home, they'll hit you with a 2% tax at the end when you sell it. I had some people say too on that comment section, they said, oh, well, that's crazy. No one will ever buy homes anymore. No, you're wrong on that. Because we're giving you 99% of the principal residence exemption. We're only taxing you at 1%. You're keeping the other 99%. So listen, the principal residence exemption is the only thing we get as Canadians. And this is why I've been saying for 15 years on my blog here, buy your principal residence. You should not be a long-term renter. That should be your first step financially, is to get into homeownership, and it still is. You're not losing the capital gains exemption here, guys. They're going to tax you at 1%. You keep the other 99% tax-free. It's the best and only tax shelter we get in this country. So it's not going to have any effect whatsoever on people buying homes to live in. None. Because you're still keeping 99%. So it's the perfect tax. Every way you look at this, you guys tell me why this is not coming down in the next 4, 5, 6 years. With our current situation, how they're going to implement this. There'll be very little pushback. The only pushback will be from some very wealthy Canadians that own $10 million homes that they bought 20, 30 years ago. And do you think they're going to be all that vocal about this? Look, it's going to be like the COVID situation if you didn't believe in the lockdowns or the vaccines. You don't dare speak out on this stuff because they're going to look at you saying you're worth 10 or 15 million dollars and you don't want to pay $20,000 on that 3 or 4 million dollars that you've got in capital gain on your house. How is that going to make you look? So they've got us every single way with this tax. I think I covered all the stuff I wanted to on this. Again, principal residence exemption is still there. It's still the best thing we got. But it's the last thing they haven't taxed. It's one of the reasons why Trudeau has run up these massive deficits, because he's been on this for over 5 years. Google it. He knows. They're just working out the logistics on how we want to implement this, at what rate. Most Canadians will be fine with it. I can guarantee there'll be very little pushback. And what are you going to do? I don't want to pay it any more than you guys do. But hey, in this comment section, don't shoot the messenger, guys. I'm just giving you, the straight goods here on what I'm seeing. I'm reading the room here. And again, not telling you to sell a house to front run a tax. That's the dumbest thing you can do, because as I said, if you've got $1 million, you could stay in that house for 10 more years and pay the tax, as opposed to sell and buy something else to recapture it. So they've got us every single way. It's the perfect tax. The more I think about it, this is why Trudeau was so smug and blew all those deficits off. He knew full well there's a light at the end of the tunnel here, and it's Canadians' home equity. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, see you next week.